So I'm going to get you talking a little bit. So I'm going to start off with some word association exercises. I'm going to mention a person, and I want to hear the first thing that comes to mind when I mention that person's name. I'm looking just for a word or a phrase. I'll call on you one at a time. So the person is former President Trump. Everybody have a quick word or phrase? Don't overthink it. You all have one, right? Okay. Chris, why don't you go first?
Ego.
All right. Crystal?
Belligerent.
Audra?
Unlike me.
Jason?
Bombastic.
Teresa?
Bully.
John?
Polarizing.
And June?
Bombastic.
All right. Next person is Vice President Harris. The first word or phrase that comes to mind when you hear her name. Everybody have one? Again, don't overthink it. You all have one, right? Okay. Teresa?
I would say a feminist.
All right. Crystal? Lost her there. We'll get her back hopefully in a second. June?
Sometimes catty.
Audra?
Giggly.
All right. Chris?
Coattails.
You said coattails, right?
Yeah.
All right. John?
Liberal.
Jason?
Word salad.
Okay. So let's go back to former President Trump. What, if anything, do you like about him? Anybody?
Do you just want us to respond, not call?
Raise a finger would be great. All right. Audra?
I'm sorry, your question just left my head and I had a really good answer for it. Oh, what
if anything, do you like about former
do I
president?
like about him? He never lets go.
Okay.
He's tenacious, whether I agree or not, he is tenacious and he does not let something drop.
Okay. Jason?
I like that he's willing to kind of go against like the mainstream and being able to kind of push back where it hasn't been before. Yeah.
Okay. Chris?
Like that he speaks his mind, whether you like it or not.
Okay. Anything else? Nothing else? Okay. Just, Crystal's power went out. That's why we lost her. So, excuse me 1 second as I getting a note from, oh, she's coming back on. We'll get her back in a second. Sorry for the confusion. My apologies. Great. Let's go back to Vice President Harris for a second. What, if anything, do you like about her? Audra?
I like that she's really pioneering a trail for others to follow in her footsteps.
Okay. June?
Gutsy.
Gutsy. Okay. Hi, Crystal. We see you now. We were just asking about things that people like about Vice President Harris. Is there anything that you like about Vice President Harris?
I like her background. I like where she's coming from like past jobs and stuff like that.
Okay, got it. Great. And what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Vice President Harris?
She's capable.
Got it. All right, thank you. So let's go back to former President Trump. What, if anything, do you dislike about him? This is for all of you.
Mhm.
I dislike his name calling. He's just a liar so much of the time. It's hard for me to get around some of his behaviors.
Okay. Some other folks I haven't heard much from? Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, he just seems kind of unethical, and a lot of the stuff that he's done, especially near the end of 2020, I disagreed with a lot about the election, about January 6th. And even before that, I just like other people have mentioned, he's just kind of like too much of a bully, being too rude to people and kind of being unethical in general.
All right. Teresa?
Yeah, I agree with what Jason just said. He's a liar. He doesn't he can't accept things that are realistic, like the election that he lost. And he wanders in his speech a lot. He'll talk about one thing, and then he starts calling people names, and then he goes off on another tangent without finishing thoughts, and it's hard to follow him.
Got it. Okay. And Audra?
I detest the bullying, calling people's names, citing irrelevant details about them that does not pertain to the issue at hand. Drives me crazy.
Okay. Got it. Let's go back to Vice President Harris. What do you dislike, if anything, about her? John, I haven't heard much from you. Do you dislike anything about Vice President Harris?
Perhaps. I don't know enough about Vice President Harris, other than the fact that she was running for the presidential nomination in 2020 and dropped out before the Iowa caucuses, so she was eliminated quite early. Beyond that, I don't have a good understanding of her policy views.
Okay. Just by a quick show of fingers, I noted Audra and Teresa that you have your fingers up. Among the 7 of you, how many of you feel like you don't have enough of an opinion about Vice President Harris to render an opinion one way or the other? Wow, nearly all of you. Okay, thank you. Teresa, go ahead.
So that's one of the things that I dislike about her, is that we don't know enough. She's been vice president for almost 4 years, and we still have no idea what her platform is or what she stands for.
Okay. And Audra?
I dislike that when she is asked tough questions, even domestically, but specifically on the international stage, when she gets flustered, she giggles. And I think that is a telling sign to our enemies that they have just made her uncomfortable. And I don't think that you should have a tell like that when you are running for president or are the current seated vice president of the United States.
Yeah, thank you. So one thing you all have in common is that you voted for Nikki Haley during the Republican primary in your state this year. Okay, so you were all wondering what commonality you had other than being in a focus group with me, and that's it. So I want you to think back to when you cast your vote in that primary. And I'd like to know if that vote was more a vote for Haley because you like her, or if it was more a protest vote against Trump. So think about that for a second. I'm going to ask you for a show of fingers for both of those options. So hang on a second.
Okay.
So by a show of fingers, who'd say it was more for Haley because you liked her? 5 of you. The other 2 of you is a protest vote against Trump?
Close. It's very close. I like her too.
Okay. But if it's 51,
Yeah, if I had to say protest, yeah.
The protest, two of you. Okay.
Yeah, mine was a protest vote, but Haley had dropped out by the time that our state primary was
Yes.
executed.
Mhm.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So I'd like to hear from you very briefly from each of you, just in a sentence or two, why you voted for Haley when you did in the primary. So, John, you were saying you voted for her after she dropped out.
Correct.
And so why did you vote for her?
I voted for two reasons. Number one was to convey to the powers that be that not everybody is for Trump, that, you know, has those types of views or Republican type views, as well as the fact that I agree with Haley's more moderate policy. So it was, you know, wasn't like one or the other, it was both.
Okay, got it. And Jason, what about you?
Yeah, I liked her. I think she was my second pick to Ron DeSantis, but I think Ron had already dropped out by then. And so yeah, I think like on the international stage, I trusted her more internationally as opposed to Trump. He seemed too much of a squish on international issues. And then she seemed like a good, you know, just like steady hand on the wheel, just like a good kind of Republican, somebody I could trust.
Okay. Crystal, what about you? Why did you vote for her?
Pretty much that same reason. I trust her more internationally, and I think Trump, he proved himself in his presidency. He has no sense of the international. He is such a isolationist, and we can't be that way. In this day and age, our country cannot be that way. And I like her politics, much more moderate, much more of the Republican that I am used to seeing and hearing than Trump.
Okay. Teresa.
I agree with what everybody's saying. I voted for her because of her. She's a moderate more than hardcore Republican, which is more my beliefs. Internationally, I think she would be good. She also has a good record in South Carolina. I've only been in this part of the country for 5 years, and so I'm still learning about all the politics of everyone involved here. But I like what her record showed in South Carolina. I like that she's a moderate and her views on a lot of things like abortion. I think she speaks well. She held herself very well in the debate and against all of those men. And I don't know, I just really like her.
Okay. Chris, what about you?
Felt that she presented herself well, and that she'd already proven that she could run an economy very well with how she ran in South Carolina, and that she could get like how she had ran with being the ambassador, that she could get along with other countries. So,
Okay. Audra, what about you?
To me, she felt like the only adult in the room, especially with her debate performance. I find her to be educated, articulate. She has a proven track record as a governor. And of course, she served as the ambassador. And I like that she stood up to Trump and said, yeah, your administration's not really for me. I have more important things to do. Thanks for the opportunity. And I think that took a lot of integrity and a lot of guts to stand up and do that.
And June, what about you?
Wow. I'm with Audra. I have liked her from the beginning. And when she stepped aside, she saw faults. And, you know, sometimes if you have a big ego, it's hard to walk away from that. And she did. And yet she can handle ambassador kind of things. Her husband's in the military, so she understands that. She understands foreign policy. To me, she just checked all the boxes. She speaks well, she presents well, she's not condescending. She cares for the retired older people, she cares for the young, the abortion issue. I mean, all those things. She was, to me, the perfect candidate against all those men. And I just really liked her a lot.
Got it. Thank you. So just by a quick show of fingers, how many of you voted for her while she was still an active candidate in your state? 4 of you. So for the other 3 of you, she was already out. Okay.
That's the hard part about our whole system. If you aren't in the big Tuesday thing, like we aren't in Wisconsin, you don't count. And that's just wrong.
Got it. Thank you. By a show of fingers, who would say that on most days you pay attention to the 2024 election? On most days you pay attention to the election. All 7 of you. Okay. So for a moment, let's imagine the election, the presidential election is tomorrow. It's not November. Imagine it's tomorrow. And it's Trump against Harris. By a show of fingers, if these were your only 2 choices, who would not vote? How many of you who would not vote? Seriously, not vote. This has to be a yes, not vote, not a kind of, sort of, maybe. So Jason and Teresa, you would not vote. Okay.
If I can't write in, I wouldn't vote.
Okay.
I'm with Teresa.
Me too.
Okay. Hold on a second. Work with me with the hypothetical I gave you, which is you have 2 choices. We're going to get to other options in a little bit. So just to let you know, it's coming. For right now, it's Trump, Harris, or not voting. In that scenario, who would not vote? 4 of you would not vote. Okay. Okay, that's June, John, Jason, and Teresa. Okay. John, why would you not vote in that situation?
Because I'm not a fan of either candidate. And it would not be the first time that I've decided to not vote for either major party candidate in a presidential election.
Okay. Got it. Jason?
Yeah, I haven't voted for either major party in the last 2 elections, so, and I don't have any choices that I like this election, so I'll just, not vote for this either of them this time either.
Got it. June?
I have not always voted Republican. And at this point, I just can't. And I have voted for independent before. But I feel like I'm one of those voters who's not going to get to have a voice.
Okay. And Teresa, how about you?
I just don't care for either one of the candidates. I don't think either one of them would do the job we need done in this country right now.
Okay. Thank you. So, by a show of fingers in a head-to-head race between Harris and Trump, of the other 3 of you, who would take Trump? Audra and Chris.
But I am not confident in saying that. And it might depend on where the tiers fall on the ballot to determine who I cast my vote for. Because I don't like either one of them, but I'm also not gonna not have my chance to vote. So there's a lot of women that came before me to make sure I get this opportunity, and I don't want to squander that.
Okay, but why would you take Trump?
I'm not sure. I'm serious. It would depend on where the tiers fell. I cannot confidently say until I am standing in that voter booth who of those 2 I would choose.
Okay. But it sounds like you're leaning toward Trump.
But if you ask this question in 2 more minutes, I could lean towards Harris. I am that undecided.
Okay. So at this very moment, why would you lean toward Trump?
I think the economy might fare a little bit better underneath his guidance.
Okay. Chris, why would you choose Trump?
Just because I'm afraid if he wouldn't be president, that the government would kind of be at a standstill. Like it would be a blockade.
So without him, that's what would happen to the government.
Right.
Okay. What causes you to think that?
Just, I mean, he's already kind of creating that to begin with. So, like, he was like trying to hold up the whole, force the Republicans to not let the border deal go.
Okay. I'm a little bit confused. Can you just very succinctly tell me why you choose Trump? I'm a little bit confused. I'm sorry, Chris.
Well, if it was between the two that are going, I felt that I would just choose Trump.
Explain to me again why, just quickly, if you could. I'm not understanding why you would choose Trump, about the government being at a standstill. Can you just explain that to me a little bit? In other words, with Trump, do you want what he plans to do, or do you want to stop Harris from what intended to do? Explain to me what's going on, just so I understand it.
Like, I'm more of a Republican viewpoint, so I like his principles, like the principles of the Republican Party.
Got it.
So I felt that, like, if I don't vote Republican, that none of the things that I want to get done is gonna get done.
Got it. Got it.
And if I vote the other way, that like nothing's gonna go, like it's gonna be a lot of infighting.
Got it. Thank you.
Right.
I'm sorry, Crystal. You would take Harris?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
I dislike Trump that much. I am scared for my children. I have an 18-year-old daughter, and she is terrified of what he's going to do. He is too extreme. He wants too many extreme things. And my older son has already said if Trump came in, he would move to Europe. He's leaving the country. And that speaks volumes to me about our young people. And as a parent, and I just can't, in good conscience, vote for Trump at all. I have lived with him. I come from New York. I have lived with him literally my entire life. I have seen what he did in New York. And when he came into the national political scene, I thought it was a joke and nobody would vote for him. And then this unknown wave came out and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I just cannot. As much of a Republican as I am, his planks that he has are too extreme, just too much.
Thank you. So for the four of you who in this two-way dynamic wouldn't vote for Trump or Harris, do any of you feel as though Harris could change your mind? That's for Jason, John, or Teresa. Show of fingers among the four of you who think that Harris has a potential to change your mind. Just June or Teresa. Okay, got it. So John and Jason, are you hard nose on her?
I'd say I'm a pretty hard no, but there's a little wiggle room there based on what she did when she was in California and the attorney general there and some of her policies and practices. I think I know where she leans, and based on that,
I'm sorry, say the last part again. Based upon that, what?
Based upon what she did when she was in California, like attorney general and senator there, her political beliefs and how she went after some of the big businesses there, I would think I'd be a no.
Got it. Okay. And Jason, why would you be a hard no?
I mean, I don't think she could moderate enough for me. I think like she's kind of branded herself as pretty liberal. And I don't like, even if she did try to moderate, because like Joe Biden, he said he was going to moderate. And I feel like he hasn't moderated that much, well, in the last 4 years. So I wouldn't trust her to moderate. Yeah.
Okay. I want to just go back to Nikki Haley very quickly for a second. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, getting some questions from the outside folks watching. For how many of you would you say your vote for Nikki Haley in the primary was in large part a vote for a female candidate, that you wanted a female candidate in that primary? So it wasn't primarily about her being female? No. Okay, great. So I want to go back now, sorry to jump around, back to Vice President Harris. So bear with me. Please listen carefully to the wording of this question. It's a long question. So one perspective is that she represents a continuation of all that's wrong with the Biden presidency. High inflation, too much illegal immigration, and wars breaking out overseas. A different perspective is that Harris represents a younger generation of leadership, one that offers an alternative to the Trump versus Biden contest that many voters said they didn't want. So everybody got the dynamics I'm talking about there? Is that clear? Okay. So I want to know where you lean more. By a show of fingers, between those two viewpoints, which comes closer to yours? So who says Harris is a continuation of Biden's failed leadership, and you see things more that way? 6 of you. And Crystal, you see it more as an alternative to Trump versus Biden?
Yes, the younger leadership.
Younger leadership. Okay, got it. By a show of fingers also, is there anybody in this group who was planning to vote for Biden before Sunday, but now won't vote for Harris? Anybody fit that category? You are planning to vote for Biden, but you won't vote for Harris. Nobody fits that, okay? Alternative question. Is there anyone in this group who was not planning to vote for Biden, but will likely vote for Harris? None of you fit that category either. Okay. I want to do a quick word association exercise. I'm going to mention a person, and I just want to hear the first thing that comes to mind when you hear that person's name. Looking for a word or a phrase, nothing more. And I'll call on you one at a time, so please don't blurt it out. First person I'm going to ask about is former President Trump. The first word or phrase that comes to mind when you hear his name. Everybody have one? You all do? Okay. I'm going to go in reverse order from how you introduce yourselves. I'm going to start with Dale.
Economy.
Zach.
Flamboyant.
Ronnie.
Egotistical.
Jennifer.
Immoral.
Barbara.
Loud.
Melody.
A skank.
Tierra.
A frog.
Okay, thank you. Next person. Don't blurt out an answer. I'm going to call on you again. Vice President Harris. First word or phrase that comes to mind. Everybody have one? Great. Barbara, please go first.
Interesting.
Jennifer.
Condescending.
Ronnie.
Flaky or word salad.
Dale.
Radical.
Melody.
I want to say intelligent.
Intelligent is the word?
Mhm.
Okay, got it. Just make sure. Tierra?
Loyal.
And Zach?
Background.
Background meaning?
She just feels like she's always in the background. Not really. I don't know enough about her.
Got it. So in the background. Okay. Thank you. Let's go back to former President Trump for a moment. What, if anything, do you like about him? Anybody?
Mm.
Ronnie?
He's a businessman. We had the lowest inflation there ever was. Gas prices were low. People had more money in their pocket.
Got it. Barbara?
The same, how he turned around the economy.
Zach?
I'm gonna go economy as well, but I also don't mind his foreign policies.
Okay. Anything else that people like about him?
I like, oh, well, do I put my finger up?
Tiara, go ahead.
I did like his entrepreneurship though, before now, he's a good business minded person when it comes to making money.
Okay. Great. Anything else? Dale?
Energy.
Meaning what?
Well, that he has a lot of charisma and energy.
Got it. Okay. Great. Let's go back to Vice President Harris. What, if anything, do you like about her? Tiara?
I think she's strong and wise.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Strong, yeah, and wise.
Okay. Barbara, you had something?
I just like that she's a woman. I think it's time to have a woman in the forefront.
Okay. Anything else you like about her? Zach?
She's not Joe Biden.
Anything else? All right. I'll take that as a no.
I'll say she has an education. I'll give that for her.
And I say she's from my hometown, so.
Okay. Got it. Let's go back to former President Trump. What, if anything, do you dislike about him? Anybody? Ronnie?
I like the way he ran the country, but I do not like the way he downgrades people. He calls people's names, things like that. That's uncalled for. He needs to improve that.
Dale?
He gets in trouble a lot, and he seems to like it.
Yeah.
Barbara?
Yeah, I think that he thinks only for himself and not for the country.
Okay. Melody?
His age.
His age.
Yeah.
Tiara, did you have something too?
Well, it was that he was rude. I don't like that he's so rude. So kind of agreeing to Ronnie.
Okay. Got it.
To add to that, just unprofessional demeanor, not fitting the presidency.
Got it. Okay. Let's go back to Vice President Harris. What, if anything, do you dislike about her? Zach?
Foreign policy.
What specific part of it stands out to you?
How she was in charge of the southern border. Like that was one of the very few things that people knew about her during Biden's presidential run. And
What
I didn't
else?
like how that went.
Okay. Thank you. Other things you don't like about her? Jennifer?
The simplistic explanations given when asked about Ukraine and other events, just when I said condescending earlier, that's part of what I meant. Just very like 2-year-old level instead of treating people at the same level, I guess.
Okay. Ronnie?
When she's asked a question, if she doesn't know the answer, she just cackles, and that drives me crazy.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, she was given 2 jobs and she failed at it miserably. One job, she was the border czar, so to speak. And well, you know what's happened to the southern border.
And what was the other thing?
And they fentanyl coming into the United States. She was so supposedly in charge of that. Two things. She never once went to the border.
Got it. Dale, you going to say something?
Yeah, I think she's out of her league. And there's a lot more people that, you know, men or women, when I'm saying women, that would be better qualified for that role. And so I think she's out of her league.
Okay. By a show of fingers, how many of you would say that you don't know enough about her to have much of an opinion about her? It's that category. Any of you? Barbara? Anybody else? In fact, you don't know enough about her to have much of an opinion to even to decide whether you like her or dislike her. Okay, Barbara, anybody else? Just one of you. Okay. So one thing you all have in common is you voted for Nikki Haley during the Republican primaries this year. Probably all wondering how you ended up in this group. It was because of that.
Oh, wow.
So I want you to, if you would, for the 7 of you, to please think back to when you cast that vote. And I'd like to know the following. Please listen carefully. Was that vote more of a vote for Haley because you like her? Or was it more of a protest vote against former President Trump? Think about that for a second. Was it a proactive vote for Haley because you liked her, or a protest vote against Trump? By a show of fingers, who would say it was more for Haley because you liked her? 5 of you. Okay. And for Melody and Tiara, it was more because it was a protest vote? Okay. So I'd like to hear from each of you, just in a sentence or two, as to why you voted for Haley. Give me a sense as to why you voted for her. So, Zach, I'm going to start with you.
I just didn't want to see the same race happen again, which is where we almost ended up.
Okay. Ronnie?
She's a calming, she has a calming demeanor. She's not going to be out screaming and hollering and spitting out bad tweets. And I think she'll pull the country closer together than try to divide them.
Okay.
We've had enough division.
Got it. Jennifer?
She had leadership experience, quite a bit of it, both at the national and state level, in South Carolina, as well as under Trump's administration. So I respected that about her.
Dale?
Well, I liked her professionalism, and she just had a complete package. She was a great potential leader.
Okay. Tiara? No, you had it and you lost it. Try it again. There you go.
All right, I'm back. I liked her demeanor. There's something about her I like when she talks, and she was a woman. You know, of course, another chance of having a woman lead us, and it was beating Trump. So I was with it.
Got it. Melody?
Yeah, I want to say anybody but Trump. And that's why I voted for her.
Okay. And Barbara?
She was Republican and a woman, and she just seemed to have a calmer demeanor than Trump. And I agree with, like, I didn't want to see the same race again between Trump and Biden.
Okay. By a show of fingers, who would say that on most days you pay attention to the 2024 election? Isn't that okay? On most days you're paying attention. 5 of you, I think. Raise your fingers again, just to make sure I get the correct count. I'm sorry. 6 of you. Okay. So for a moment, let's imagine the election is tomorrow and it's Trump against Harris? By a show of fingers, if these were your only two choices, no write-ins, these are your only two choices, who would not vote? Any of you not vote? Jennifer, anybody else? Jennifer, why would you not vote in that scenario?
I don't agree with Kamala Harris's platform. And if it were tomorrow, I'm just not in a position to vote for Trump. And so if I couldn't write anyone in, it would be difficult for me. If he somehow can rein in and become more moderate and temper himself, I might be able to get there by November, but I don't know.
Hey, what do you think the odds are that that will happen?
Fairly, I don't know, 25%, depending on if anyone can get through to him. I don't know.
Got it. So, among the other 6 of you, in a head-to-head race between Harris and Trump, who would take Trump? Zach, Ronnie, Dale, and Barbara. Okay. Barbara, why?
Because I'm Republican.
Okay. Explain to me why that matters as much as it does in this consideration.
Unfortunately, whoever the Republican candidate is who I'm going to vote for.
Okay. So it's would you describe it as an issue of party loyalty? Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Dale, why would you take Trump?
Well, I think he'd do a better job, and I think if you voted for Harris, it'd be more Biden for the next 4 years, and I think it's been awful.
Okay. Ronnie, why would you take Trump?
I want to close that southern border. I want to start drilling for oil here in the United States and drop the price of gas down. And I want inflation to be dropped.
Okay.
And hopefully he'll cut excessive spending.
Okay. Zach, why would you take Trump?
Mostly economy.
All right. So Tiara and Melody, you would take Harris. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Melody, why would you take Harris?
Because he's not Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He's not Trump.
Okay.
And I don't want another January 6th.
Okay. Tiara, why would you take Harris?
I mean, I have many reasons for me. I mean, like I said, she's from my hometown. So I do know, history of her from where she started from and where she is now. So she's motivating or motivational to us, to my peers. She's a Black woman. She could be the first lady president. She will follow Biden's policies, Obama things that I like, things that I feel the people who vote for them agree on. Fight for our rights, that are just everything about her I like. I'm going for her, and everybody I know going for her. So I hope she get in the race.
Okay. So let me give all 7 of you, 2 perspectives on Harris. Please listen carefully. One perspective is that she represents a continuation of all that's wrong with the Biden presidency. High inflation, too much illegal immigration, and wars breaking out overseas. A different perspective is that Harris represents a younger generation of leadership. one that offers an alternative to the Trump versus Biden contest that voters said they didn't want. So by a show of fingers, I want to know, between these two viewpoints, which comes closer to yours? Everybody clear about what the distinction is? Okay. So by a show of fingers, who says that Harris is a continuation of Biden's failed leadership? 4 of you. And who says she's a younger leader who offers an alternative to the Trump versus Biden scenario? 3 of you. By a show of fingers, is there anyone in this group who was planning to vote for Biden before he dropped out, but now won't vote for Harris? Anybody fit that category? None of you. Okay. Second scenario, by a show of fingers, is there anyone in this group who was not planning to vote for Biden, but will likely vote for Harris? None of you.